Valuer was visiting the premises. There was a dead body found in one of the same premises, and it was very dramatic. I mean, you saw a lawyer; they act very differently when out of the court. They smile at you. Suddenly, inside the court, they are shouting at you. Somebody is prompting you. It's like very dramatic, very challenging to process that information in urban context. I would say the most difficult asset to value is land.
Hello, Vijayashri. Thank you for joining us on our show, The Professional Circuit. It is truly a pleasure to have you on our show.
Thank you so much, Simran, for visiting us. You are most welcome at R.R. Pidnekar and Associates. We are architects and government registered valuers. We do real estate appraising.
Thank you for introducing yourself to our audience. And so I'll quickly begin with our very first question. So for someone hearing the term appraiser for the first time, how would you explain them as to who exactly is an appraiser and what is the significance of their work?
So, an appraiser is a professional person who decides the value of different assets. In my case, it is real estate, but there are many categories of assets. So, that is decided by a real estate appraiser or any other appraiser.
Right.
These appraiser reports, or we say valuation reports, are very official documents. They are very crucial documents because a lot of financial decisions or the loan decisions, or for that matter damages, to calculate damages for insurances, like a lot of it are depending based on this report.
What are the different sectors where appraisers are needed today?
There are actually many categories, I think 7 to 8 categories where there are different appraisers and you get licenses for different categories. The first category where I am registered, which is immovable property, which is real estate, land and building. Then there is plant and machinery. There is agricultural land is a different thing. There is plantation, crop and plantation, another category. And there is stocks and financial instrument. There is another category for that. Company valuation. Then there is gem and jewelry. Also work of art. Every sector has a different approach, of course, because the assets are very different, no? Like if there is a plant and machinery, the more it ages, it depreciates. I think real estate is one of the sector where the prices appreciate. So it's all like all the methods are different, and there are different professional who can really become an appraiser for different categories. So for land and building, there are broadly, you can say, 3 approaches for valuation. One is market approach, another is income approach, and third is a cost approach. So type of property like residential, commercial or industrial, type of the property really decides the method or approach of valuation, and that is one of the first steps when you start the valuation process. Like for example, you own a flat in an urban space where there are many other flats similar to your flat. So it is very easy to estimate the value of your flat based on studying the data in the vicinity. So that is called the market approach. You are studying the market and deciding. Some properties, like for example hotels or petrol pumps or theaters, they are not easily marketable. No, there are no like clients available to just buy it on a regular basis. But for many purposes, legal tax or loans or whatever, they require valuation of that thing. So in that matter, the valuation of such kind of properties are being decided by how much income they are generating. Then the third category, which is very, very niche, I would say, which is like, for example, I'll give you a temple. So there's a land and there is a temple over it. So it is not marketable. Obviously, you're not going to sell it, and there is no income fetching. They're not generating income. But obviously, there is a parcel of land and building. There has to be a value to it. So it has been considered the value of the land and the construction cost of the structure. So that is the third approach, the cost approach.
So, could you walk us through the key steps of the appraisal process in simple, terms, and also what are the rules and regulations involved in appraising?
In Indian context, right now we do not have our own rules for valuation. It is in process right now. There is a working paper on it, but right now we are depending on the international valuation standard or the Red Book, RICS standards. These two standards mainly we are depending on. So basically, very first and very important thing is to understand what is the assignment and getting the data of the assignments, getting the documents from the client first and study it thoroughly, that understanding the property, its attributes, different attributes. That is the very first process. Second process is to understand the purpose of valuation, and this is I think will come to this point because this is a very very crucial point to even decide will do the valuation or not. So understanding purpose of valuation is a very crucial step. The third thing is making a site visit, because papers sometimes tell you some other thing, but on the sites you observe a lot of other things. So site visit is a very, very important matter. And there you record it, you document, photo document it, you make measurements, you note down a lot of observations from the site, neighborhood, and any unforeseen factors also you can come across during the visits. After this, we study the historic data sets in that zone or locality, etc. And these data sets can be from various different sources, like there are government records, there is non-government records, like there are a lot of real estate portals that you have to study. You have to also make a lot of local inquiries with the residents, with sometimes real estate brokers, etc. And by studying all this, the secondary data, the primary data from the site altogether, we make a valuation report, and then it is finally been reviewed and issued a final report. The certification of it is the major thing which will make all the difference, because without the sign and the stamp, it holds no value. So, majorly if people are doing banking related, which we call the retail kind of valuation. So, there is a bulk valuation, and they are going to the financial institute based on which your loans are dispersed, etc., etc. So, for such kind of requirements, the process ends here. Like when you issue the certified report, the process ends unless there is some big issue with the report. This is okay. I mean, this is the end of it. But specifically in the field which I'm working for, especially the judiciary and the tax department, especially the judiciary, the actual process starts after this. So your report goes to the court, it goes to the lawyers who are your opponents, and then you have to go to the court, you have to file an affidavit that okay, this is my report, this everything I have mentioned is true to my knowledge, etc., etc. And then you have to really go in the court multiple times as an expert witness. Maybe you must have seen in on TV or something where like different professional goes. So this is one of the professional as a appraiser valuer. You have to go in the court as an expert witness, and there is an extensive process of cross examination. They may just ask you 400, 500 questions. Sometimes my cross have extended till 8 to 10 sessions also. So that's the most challenging part of it. So yeah, so this is ultimately the last process for some of the valuations.
How do you determine the true value of an asset or property? And, if you could explain to me the process with some real life example.
true value or the market value, or here we call it as fair market value also sometimes, is been determined by studying the market thoroughly. Like you have to study the different data sets, like there are government records, but of course, it's India. So there are a lot of intrinsic value. Like for example, the value on the paper is different, but the actual transaction is different. So in such matter, you cannot have kind of a documentary proof to prove things, but then you have to adopt to different method, and maybe you have to go for deeper inquiries in the locality to actually understand the value of the property. Because on the paper sometimes, for example, the property is 1 CR worth, but on the paper it just 50 lakhs or 60 lakhs, so actually determining the value based on, then you have to refer to other data sets, like there are property portals, or there are asking prices. People want to sell their property and they're putting up the value of their property. Sometimes you have to inquire with the locals who are staying there, because they know the best value of their own properties, and with the broker saying. So the site visit becomes very important. In fact, I want to highlight like one of the examples they had discussed in one of the sessions, where that valuer was visiting the premises. It was a kind of a bungalow kind of a system, and he had been called after a week or so to the police station, because there was a dead body found in one of the same premises. But fortunately, he was very thorough with his visits, with his observation, with his notes. That he had mentioned specifically that I visited this bungalow, this property, and this specific room was locked, so I could not visit it from inside. And that observation just saved him get out of the suspect list. It can get as you have to be very careful while doing this.
So, what is the most difficult type of property or asset to appraise accurately?
I would like to highlight 2-3 things maybe in this. One is in the market, it can be any kind of property, but in the market where the real data is not available, like as mentioned, intrinsic value of the property, where people do a lot of different transaction on paper and in real. So in such cases, one of the most difficult assets to value, because you have to make really deeper inquiries, and you spend actually more than estimated time on that assignments. That is one type of thing, one type of assets. Second, I would say is the properties which are in semi-urban area or sometimes rural areas, where the transactions are happening fine, but there are very less transactions. So it's a house and a land in village, and in that village maybe second transaction in 2 years. So the historic data only you don't have it to compare it with. In that cases, maybe you have to compare it with the neighboring villages, neighboring areas, and all that. So that those are also a little tricky kind of valuation. And in urban context, I would say the most difficult asset to value is land, because land has such hidden attributes. It's just not land. There is encumbrances, there is tenancy rights over it, there is ownership right, there is lease rights, there are leases for 90 years, sometimes 999 years. There is illegal construction like slums over it. There is factors like TDR, there is factor like FSI, there's factors like land use zoning, you know. So the lands are the most difficult assets to value in urban context.
What factors can dramatically increase or decrease a property's value?
The biggest factor I would say is the legality. If your title is clear, all the legal documents are clear, then it's better. If that is not in place, the same property can fetch much lesser value. Then there are a lot of other factors like view from the property. The location obviously is the biggest factor. The number of floors, at which floor your property is located, or right now the biggest thing is amenities. What kind of amenities a project is providing decides the higher or the lesser value of the property. And then there is width of the road. The larger the road, the better the location and the value. Then, of course, it depends the neighborhood, as I mentioned earlier also. For example, there is a celebrity staying next to you, then suddenly the price's actual value is not really that much, but because of that influence of a celebrity, the property prices just rises up. On the other hand, if there is, for example, a nala or a graveyard or something, then the prices also drastically falls.
Why are cities like Mumbai witnessing such extremely high real estate prices?
But I'll give you one thumb rule kind of a thing, which is like universally being followed. Like when you call it a house is affordable for you when you can buy it in your 5 years of salary, like 5 years of annual income. So which is not completely possible in cities like Bombay or for that matter any other metro city of India. And there is a very, very basic reason. There is scarcity of space, and especially if you'll see the geography of Bombay, it's been like surrounded by sea, so it's limited space. I think Bombay is about 400 and some 30 odd square kilometers, the main city. So in that, and there are obviously some non-construction zones like national park, green zones, etc. So there is very less space is remaining after that. So there, when there is scarcity, the demands obviously increases, and everybody tries to get to the best location possible. So all these factors rises the prices, of course.
Do appraisers require license or certification or government approvals to practice professionally?
For real estate appraisals, I think architects and engineers can practice, can become appraisers or valuers. With my observation, I've seen this profession is heavy with engineers. So I am an architect, but there are few architects working in this profession, and especially these are all men engineers. So it's very rarely you see a women appraiser in real estate. After this, either you have to acquire a certain year of experiences, like 10-15 years of experiences, to be able to get a license to practice. There are higher courses also. Like I have a master's degree in urban planning and management, and I have another second master's into real estate valuation. So you have two major licenses. One is given by the Income Tax Department under the Wealth Tax Act, is under 34AB CAT. So that is one license you need to have, and the second license is by IBBI, which is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, which is mainly for the company under the Company Act, the cases which are with NCLT, etc., etc. So the companies which are going in liquidation and all that, so you require this kind of a license to practice in that. But mainly for the court, the first license is enough. So there is MRICS. RICS is Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, which is like globally recognized qualification.
How long is an appraisal report generally considered valid?
It depends on the what kind of report we are talking about. The reports which are going to the government for tax or for to judiciary, it is always valid because it is for a particular period. So that value will not change anyway. But if we are talking about a valuation report for financial sectors like banking, non-banking, the report's validity time is about 6 months, because we generally consider that within 6 months you see a change in the market. If you'll talk about Bombay.
What opportunities are emerging for young professionals entering the valuation industry today?
I would say there is a lot of opportunity because a lot of valuers right now are very senior. All the companies, for example, even requires valuation every year of their assets. So definitely there is a requirement. There are loans, there are real estate just booming. So there is a lot of opportunity, I would say.
Right. And if you could, sort of let us know what IBBI is.
IBBI is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, which is mainly coming under the Companies Act. and it is meant for the matters or the distressed properties or the company, how they can resolve the matter and how they can improve the credit in the market.
Can you share some significant experiences from your work, say from career defining moments to uncovering true value of properties?
I can, yeah, maybe there was this property was very close to the office right here, and this client, I mean, of course, I cannot disclose any name. So we had given them a particular value of the property that the rate, and they had to buy a property. Our client had to buy a property with from another organization, and there was this in between brokering company. So we had given them a particular value, and the other valuer had given them a higher value. We had also got calls from this in between agent that, okay, you're also valuer, we are also into valuation, we can offer you bigger prospects. Let us discuss this valuation. So we have, obviously it's a fishy things, and we do not entertain this kind of a thing. And we were very sure that beyond this point, a particular square footage of the rate, it will not go beyond, and they should not invest in that. And it is like large scale properties. There are multiple flats. I think it was 10 or 15 flats in the same complex. And the other valuer they had appointed, I think, given a little larger valuation. So they were also confused that why there is such a big difference between these two valuers we have appointed. But we were very 110% sure that they cannot go beyond this square footage. So hopefully they, I mean, took cognizance of our report and hopefully have saved a lot of money, which also gives us a bit of satisfaction that we were of some help.
What skills are most important for becoming a successful appraiser? Say if it's analytical thinking, negotiation, communication, awareness, or something else?
For an appraiser, you have to be very thorough with paperwork. You should understand papers very well. Then definitely data research and analysis of it. So the analytical skills are very important. Other than this, you have to have your own judgment, because there are like n number of data sets, but then ultimately what finalizes the report is your end judgment. So that having a good judgment about the market of your profession also, it's very important skill one should have. But I think, it's a very high risk profession. It like sounds very nice from outside, but it's a high risk profession because there are a lot of financial decisions are being made. As I told you, a lot of government department, judiciary are depending on this. And if things goes bad, I mean, there are valuers also in jail. So you have to always keep your eyes open. And a very important skill I would say I have learned in this profession is to say no. No to a project, no to a client at any stage till the time you issue the report. Because there are a lot of scams happens. If you're not aware, if you're not focused for a minute, something big can happen.
How does one build trust and credibility in such a high responsibility profession?
For me, it has always been, I think, word of mouth. So you deliver the report, somebody tells their friend, their circle, etc. From CS to CAs, from lawyers to lawyers. When I started attending the court sessions, it's like a large audience, you say, because it's a courtroom and a lot of people are already watching. There are a lot of lawyers in that. A lot of other clients, probable clients, so they watch you. And 80% of the situation, if my opponent lawyer is taking my cross, or maybe I get a call after a month or so, we have another case, would you like to be on this case? And I would say if you have to just maintain your ethics and just be true to this profession, I think the work keeps coming.
Are there opportunities for Indian appraisers in international markets?
Yeah, of course, there are a lot of opportunities. If somebody wants to practice globally, Then there are qualifications like RICS, which I mentioned. RICS is Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, where I think this qualification is valid for majority of the Commonwealth countries. And I think some of the countries you have to give one more maybe exam or get their license. I'm not sure about it, but like there are the processes are easier if you have this qualification from here. So, and there are a lot of jobs available, lot of students who are completing their education from in real estate are working in the international market. So definitely there is a large scope.
What are some of the biggest challenges or struggles in this profession?
Biggest challenges in this profession is getting the licenses in place, maintaining the licenses over the year, because one small mistake you will do, you lose your license. So you have to be always alert. It's a continuous learning kind of a process. So every year you have to like finish some 15-16 hours of learning of new topics in valuation. So that's also challenging. And other than this, I think when the data is not available, that's the most challenging thing. How are you going to estimate the valuation? Then you have to really go like deeper and deeper and more. It's based on more of your local inquiries and your own judgment, because ultimately you have to certify the report.
What sparked your interest to becoming an appraiser, and when did it begin?
This was a case at the court, which was my first case. Somehow that client, it's a big corporation, international corporation, and somehow they, though I was not having a prior experience of the courts, they trusted me. And I was very nervous. I could not sleep for 2 days because it was my first cross examination in the court, and its court is a very intimidating setup. It's almost like what you see in the movies, that you have to take an oath and all that also. So very serious environment. And because I was so nervous and I was very scared, I prepared a lot for it. And it was very dramatic. I mean, you saw a lawyer, they act very differently when out of the court, they smile at you. Suddenly inside the court, they are shouting at you, somebody is prompting you. It's like very dramatic, very challenging to, process that information. But I think I was very thorough with my facts, my research, my study, my report. And that I think that cross went so well that the entire court was engaged, just looking at, okay, what is it happening? There were several other lawyers came to support that lawyer for questioning and all that. And I really like it sparked my interest. I mean, this is my first case and it went well. I mean, than expected.
What are some common mistakes appraisers can make early in their careers?
Actually, I also consider myself at the start of the career only, because there are a lot of senior valuers practicing in this year, almost like 60, 70 years of age. And they find myself as very young. So I would say from whatever my learnings are, don't fall for the pressure. This is very sensitive field. If you fall for any sort of pressure, you're going to make a mistake and it can cost you the entire career of yours. So just keep it calm and do not never ever fall for any pressure from client or any assignment, etc. That I would say.
According to you, what does the future of this profession looks like?
If you're seeing in the city, there is development, redevelopment happening left, right, and center. So there are multiple projects, thousands of projects coming in. So definitely, if the new real estate coming in, there is a need for appraisal. There is project appraisals. Other than that, especially after setup of the IBPI, all the companies are supposed to value their assets every year. So it's a recurring kind of assignments, and tax matter never ends.
How much can one earn in this profession at the beginning of their career and later on?
Start from 8 to 10 to 12 and per annum also. And I'm not sure, I've been told always the limits are endless. So I still have to reach the limits. But maybe I recently heard about a job offer where senior level manager for valuation department in an IPC. It can go up to 35 to 40 lakhs an annum.
What advice would you like to give someone aspiring to become an appraiser today?
See, this is a very exciting profession according to me, very challenging. So, but to start with, get your education in place, get your degrees in place, get your licenses in place first, and you have to be very strong with your paperwork. Not since the beginning of your courses, licenses, whenever you are applying also anywhere for new projects, you have to do a lot of paperwork. So, you have to be very strong with the paperwork. So, these 2, 3 things, I think if you work, you can easily pursue your career into this. And the last but not the least, just be passionate about it and be true to the profession.
Thank you very much, Vijayashree, for being a part of our show. I had a great time talking to you, and this interview was very, very insightful for me. And I'm hoping that the viewers watching this interview would gauge a lot more information too.
I'm very glad that you visited R.R. Pednekar and Associate. You're always welcome. If whatever you need, you're always welcome here. And I truly enjoyed having a discussion with you today.